Oh my God. Butlins has written me off. You might be able to tell just from listening to my voice and just looking at the state of me that I am completely bunged up. Most people will call it man flu. I call it, I'm genuinely aching everywhere. I think it's something to do with the weekend, which is what I'm going to be talking about in this video today. You might have seen around about 5 months ago, I posted another video on this channel, which basically gave a retrospective review of our time away at Butlins in Minehead. We went to a 2000s weekend there. It was really good. And it turns out that that video is the highest viewed video on my channel. I think it's got like 320 something views or something like that, which is it's crazy. I can't wait to take over the world. I am going to be rivaling Mr. Beast on YouTube before you know it. Obviously, I'm only joking. That was a little bit of sarcasm, but thank you ever so much if you have watched that video. And if you haven't watched it, you might want to go back and watch it. I'll leave a link in the description to the video itself. You might want to go and watch that because I'm basically going to be talking about our last time at Butlins as I talk about this time at Butlins, because yes, okay, fair enough, I did just say that it was very good, and it was a good weekend last time. However, I was just left feeling a little bit, I don't know, underwhelmed. And it's been in my head ever since we went to that 2000s weekend to come back to Butlins, just to see if it could redeem itself. And that's exactly what I'm going to be reviewing this time, because this weekend just gone, from the 7th to the 10th of February, we returned to Butlins. It was very impromptu. I've got some notes just here, because I don't know whether I've mentioned it, but I am suffering a little bit today, and I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to be rambling and going off on loads of tangents, because I just don't know where my head is. Honestly, my body is aching. I don't know. I need sleep. I just need sleep. But I've written everything down here so I don't get lost in what I want to talk about. If you get to the end of it and you liked it and you want to see more, and providing that I can get to the end of this video without falling asleep or dying a death, please do feel free to consider subscribing and all of that wonderful YouTube stuff. And let's get to it, shall we? And let's see if Butlins managed to redeem itself. Just for clarity, we went to the back to the 2000s weekend at Butlins in Minehead. We've been to Minehead now for the last 10 years. I actually think that the weekend that we've just been on was the 15th time that we've been. And yes, I did work that out for the sake of a video like this. So go me, I'm proud of myself, putting all this work in. But the first thing I want to mention is where we stayed. Now, we stayed in a comfort room. This was a 2-bedroom comfort room. I think the comfort rooms are a step up from the standard accommodation. Now, last time we went, we stayed in the Bayside Apartments, or Blue Skies as I know them as. But of course, you can also get, other accommodation that we have stayed at as well. So you've got the chalets, you've got the comfort room plus, or the comfort plus rooms, or whatever the sort of correct term is. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But this time we opted for the comfort room. And to be completely honest, I think one of the reasons that we went for the comfort room was just because of the price that we managed to get the whole weekend for. Oh my God, I've been waiting for that all morning. Health update. I'm deteriorating even more. Oh God, right. Where was I? Yeah, price. I'll tell you the price at the end of the video, but the reason, like I said, that we chose the comfort rooms was because of the price that we managed to get the weekend for. It was one of those where we looked at it and we thought, you know what, we wouldn't usually select a comfort room. We like to go, either like Comfort Plus or sometimes the chalets if we can afford it, because the chalets can get quite expensive. But this time we sort of looked at the comfort rooms. We looked at, like the pictures of the inside of them and whatever, like what the Butlins website sort of tells you and everything. And we just looked at the price and we thought, you know what, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Like we should just do it. It's just a room for the weekend. And just to point out as well, this is probably going to be something that's reflected in the price that we paid. But we gave ourselves basically 2 weeks. We booked this a couple of weeks ago. It was just on a whim. It was random. Usually we'd book something with around about 5 or 6 months to spare. And that'll give us time to save money, and it'll give us time to, really prepare for it. But this time, we saw this deal, fortunately, because of overtime that I've been working and because of how hard Chris has been working as well. We found ourselves basically with an opportunity to go to Butlins with a couple of weeks to spare, which is very different, very impromptu and very random. But I'm super glad that we did it. So with that said, let's talk about the room itself that we stayed in then. Now, it was a 2-bedroom comfort room. We didn't need a 2-bedroom one, of course, because it was only the 2 of us. But I believe at the time of booking, I think the website was saying that there was only 2 units left. So we just took the 2-bedroom unit, and the things that I liked versus the things that I didn't like too much. I'll be honest, it's going to sound like I'm putting this room down because there are some bad points about this room. However, I'm going to keep coming back to the price that we paid, and I can't really complain. Essentially, I liked how close it was to the main venues, like the tent in general and Studio 36 and all of that. This is a map of the Minehead Resort. And this is where the tent and everything is, and this is where we stayed. So it was really convenient. To walk to the tent from our room, it was around about, I would say, a 5-minute walk. Not that I was really timing it, but it was closer than, let's say, I don't know, the Westlake Chalets, which we've stayed in before. And that was really good. Hello, it's me from the editing process. Just a quick one. It's about a week later since I actually recorded this video. And as I've edited it, I just realised how messy this room looks that I'm about to show you. And I hadn't actually explained it when I'd recorded this video last week. So I just want to apologise for the messy room. This footage that you're about to see was recorded on the Sunday as we made our decision to go home. So I apologise about that. Everything is everywhere, but you'll be able to get, I guess, a general feel for how big the room was. Anyway, back to me from last week, and just to let you know, I'm finally recovered from my cold. The room itself wasn't too bad. The bed was comfortable. The rooms were actually quite spacious. To be honest. There was no living room in our unit though. There was no fridge or anything like that. So if you wanted to put alcohol in there or whatever, there was nothing like that. The website said that there was a hairdryer as well included. As well as an iron and an ironing board. Now, the iron and the ironing board was there, but the hairdryer wasn't. I'm not going to pick this apart too much, to be honest with you, just because, again, the price. I'll get to the price at the end. It was a really good price. I keep saying that, don't I? But with this room, you got what you paid for. However, there were some things that I didn't like, and this is going to be the part of the video where I put the room down a little bit, but hopefully at the end of the video, I'll get back round to that all-important price, and these issues might not be a problem considering the price. Anyway, there were some stains around the room. There were some stains on the curtains. There were some stains on the floor as well. And to be honest, I can gloss over these things. I know some people might not be able to. We weren't in the room for very often. So if you accept that you're not going to be in the room for very often, then you could probably just learn to live with these things. But some things that I can't really gloss over, and I do want to point out with the comfort rooms in this particular Butlins resort, is the lack of privacy. We spent the majority of the weekend, well, I think we spent all weekend, to be honest, with the curtains closed. You could literally see like right into the room. For instance, when we went for showers and stuff like that, there was nowhere to get changed basically without being seen. Unless you stayed in the bathroom. But I'll get on to other parts of the room in a little bit. It turned out that when we were in our room, we wanted to stay in our room that we slept in, and I'll explain why in just a second. Another thing that I wanted to point out was just how thin the walls were. You could hear everything, basically. You could hear your neighbours. At one point, I heard a conversation that 2 people were having in the room next to us about what they were going to go and have to drink and what their plan for the day was. Just to give you an example of how thin the walls were. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get any like video of it or anything so I could show you, but you could hear everything. Not only could you hear your neighbours and other people in the other rooms around you, but you could also hear, of course, people on the outside as well. So if you wanted to get a good night's sleep, and to be honest, it's Butlins. Do you really get a good night's sleep at Butlins? I think the answer to that is no. But if you did want to get a good night's sleep, like if you were going there on a family weekend, for example, you might just want to consider that the walls in these particular apartments, they are thin. And if you're a light sleeper, Like Chris, for example, she's a light sleeper. She'll wake up to anything, she will. You might just want to think about how thin the walls are, because they really were thin. It didn't really impact us that much, but again, you know, if you're a light sleeper or if you go in there on a family weekend, you know, it's something to bear in mind. Something that did impact us, though, is just how cold the room was. It was absolutely freezing cold in our room. I mentioned just now about how we only wanted to stay in one spot in our particular unit. The reason for that is basically because of how cold it was elsewhere. There was an electric heater in each bedroom, but you'd basically have the bedroom door closed, you'd put the heater on, it'd get, you know, quite nice and warm in the room and everything. But then you'd open the bedroom door to go to the bathroom, and this wall of just Baltic air would hit you, and it was just horrible. You know, in the winter when you have a shower and, you know, you open the shower door or whatever and you get out the shower and it's really cold. Well, it was like that, but amplified by like 20. It was, I've never mind just being in Butlins. I can't actually remember the last time I was that cold in this country as a whole. I think that's basically why I'm so bunged up. Not only was the room really cold as well, but the venues themselves, they were really, really warm. Like there was no in between all weekend. You were either really cold or really warm. And then of course you have the normal weather to contend with as well. It was really cold. It was just not very nice. And in the times where it wasn't really cold, it was absolutely boiling. So it's no wonder that I'm currently suffering with my health. But speaking of venues and how warm they were, this brings us to the next part of the video where I'm going to talk to you about the rest of Butlins. So starting with Reds and sticking to the theme of how warm the venues were. Reds really was like partying on the surface of the sun. It was absolutely roasting in there. It was the warmest venue by a country mile. I was absolutely sweating my tits off. I really was. It was still a good venue though, with all that being said. Even if we were serenaded by the voice of Katie Price on the Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I know. Onto centre stage, and this is the room in Butlins that I made things official with Chris all that time ago. And you know, as I think back to all of our Butlins weekends, I really don't know what she sees in me. I really don't know. I'm very lucky though to have her, I know that much. But to think that it was 10 years ago that we stood in that venue, up in the corner by the VIP bar, as I essentially told her that I'm changing my Facebook status. I was 20 at the time, I was just turning 21. There was a thing years ago where if it wasn't on Facebook, it wasn't true. So I made sure to change my relationship status on Facebook, and I did it in that room in Butlins. And it was nice this weekend to see it back to its former glory after the flood damage that it suffered last year. I think, thinking back, I think it was closed for about 6 months or so whilst it was being worked on and whilst it was being repaired. And last time, when we went in October, it was pretty quiet, to be honest, in there. And I thought that it was something to do with Studio 36, which was a relatively new venue. It just felt like it was just sucking the life out of the rest of Butlins. That is the experience that I had last time, but this time it was just busy everywhere. Reds was a really good atmosphere. Centre stage, like I said, it was nice to see centre stage so busy. Studio 36 as well. It is still sort of quite a new venue, and it sort of does still feel out of place just because of how big it is, but the atmosphere was still good in there. The problem I had last time with Studio 36, it was basically the time that you were waiting for drinks. We were waiting for a good, you know, sort of half an hour, 40 minutes, I think, if I remember. This time it wasn't anywhere near as long as that. Which was really good, to be honest. It was a nice welcome change, and we also met a few friends in there who we've decided to stay in touch with, so we're looking forward to hopefully seeing them a little bit further down the line. But on to other parts of Butlins, and I want to start by talking about one thing and one thing only, and that is the legend that is the silent disco. Oh my god, we've never done this before, but it was absolutely incredible. I 100% recommend it. The one that we went to was in Hot Shots, which is the sports bar. There were different silent discos being held in different venues. I think there was a couple in on the green as well. But yeah, This one was held in a sports bar on the Friday night, and oh my God, like, it was just complete chaos. It was so friendly in there, though. There was people falling all over the place because the floor was wooden and there was alcohol all over the floor, but you know, everybody was just so friendly. It just felt really inclusive. You didn't feel out of place or anything like that. It was just fantastic. So please do, please do the silent disco if you're ever in Butlins. I think, I'm going to assume anyway that they have silent discos in the Bognor Regis resort and at the Skegness resort as well. But oh my God, it was just, yeah, I can't say very much more good things about it without repeating myself too much. But yeah, really good. I 100% recommend it. And across the weekend, not only did they have the silent discos, they also had something called the Soul Stroll, which was essentially the mobile version of the silent disco. We were sat in a tent on Sunday having some food. We'd had a really good Saturday night, and it was really nice. I was surprisingly not very hungover. As we were eating our food, we were all of a sudden swarmed by a group of people who were belting out, to the best of their ability, the Killers song, Mr. Brightside. Now, to be honest, it was hard to tell with some of these people whether they'd actually been to bed or not from the night before. But with that being said, I have just mentioned food and the fact that we had something to eat, and I am starving right now. So I'm going to go and get myself some food. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to leave you with the footage of this group of people as they were basically just screaming at the top of their lungs as part of the Soul Stroll. So enjoy that, and I'll catch you a little bit later. So, you rejoin me. A few hours have gone by. I've had to get some work done. I've had my lunch break. I've had something to eat. And I'd like to give you a little bit of a health update. I'm still suffering. You might be able to tell that I've put my dressing gown on back to front to try and keep my front warm. It's not really working. I keep going hot and then cold. I don't know. It's like I'm back in Butlins all over again. At least we're nearly at the end of the day. And we are nearly at the end of this video. I just want to talk about a few more things. But before I get there, yeah, that was the Soul Stroll. We missed out on it this time, of course, but there's always next time. And plus, it's me and Chris. We're always at Butlins. We practically live there at this point. But as a whole, I think the difference between the venues this time in comparison to last time was the fact that everybody seemed to be at Studio 36 last time. And it made the rest of the Butlins resort as a whole feel like a little bit of a ghost town. But this time, there was an even spread of people throughout lots of different venues. And it just felt like the Butlins of years gone by, if you like. It was a little bit nostalgic, if you like. Because before COVID, everything was okay. Like, COVID seems to have had some kind of impact on these weekends. We will still keep going there for as long as we can, but we've been seeing lately that some of the weekends have even been cancelled because of either the low numbers or just, you know, I guess it's just the state of the world now. But it is a shame to see some of the weekends being cancelled. However, we're still going to go back. In terms of other things then, just a few things now, and then I'll wrap this up by telling you how much this weekend cost altogether. Food and drink. Now, speaking of the way of the world and, you know, inflation and prices and all of that, Butlins has always been quite expensive when it comes to food and drink, and this time was no different. I mean, we were spending around about £10 or £11 each time for two people for drinks, whether it would be cider, which is what I was drinking for the most of the weekend, but sometimes I'd be drinking like rum and coke, or Chris would be having Jack Daniels and coke, for example. It was around about, yeah, as I said, around about a tenner, maybe 11 quid, sometimes 12 quid, depending on where you went for your drinks. In terms of food, the prices for food ranged between around about 20 to 50 quid, something like that for both of us. It was 20 quid roughly if we were going to like Burger King or Chopsticks, for example, and that, again, that's for the both of us. But then the 50 quid price range then, the reason I've included that is because on the Saturday we went into the Beachcomber, which is a really nice pub. They've got, really nice food and stuff, or they do really nice food, I should say. And we both had steak, and for a steak and 2 drinks, which was 2 cocktails, I think, if I remember right, it cost us around about 48 quid and change. So I've rounded that up to 50. But of course, all of this depends on, what you have. I'm not going to go on, too much about what we spent, because, some people were at the bar spending, 50, 60, 70 quid on drinks and whatever. There's a Morrison's and there's a Lidl and a Tesco just outside, like off-site. So if you wanted to, you could get down there. And this is what we normally do. We didn't do it this time because we turned up later on the Friday night, but usually we would go to one of these supermarkets and stock up, with food and snacks and drink and all of that kind of stuff. So Butlins food is quite expensive, but again, it's all about what you want yourself. But we're pretty much at that all-important price reveal. And before I get there, I actually almost forgot to mention the acts themselves. Once again, just like last time, Blue were there. They were in Studio 36. It was such a good atmosphere. Again, last time, and I keep mentioning this, but I'll say it one more time. It just felt as if Studio 36 was just sucking the atmosphere out of the place. And I don't know, it just didn't feel... it just didn't feel right. I don't know what it was, really. I don't know. But this time, Blue were there in Studio 36. It was really good seeing them again. I think it's the 3rd time that we've seen them. But not only were Blue there, of course, you've just seen that wonderful performance from Katie Price. I'm not in any rush to go back, I'll be honest. But, actually, to be fair, one thing I will say about Katie Price, I think this is the way that the show in general was supposed to come across. But she will admit, and she did admit, that she's not really a singer, but she's just going to give these songs a go. So she's able to have banter. Like, she was having banter with the DJ. I know at one point the DJ said, maybe this next song you should basically shut up and let the audience sing, because, they don't want to hear any more of you. So it was nice to to see that bit of banter then. I mean, I'm hoping that that's what it was anyway. I'm hoping that Katie Price doesn't actually think that she's going to be, the next worldwide singing superstar, but you certainly won't see me on her next tour, put it that way. But other acts included Amel from the Sugar Babes. Then we had Liberty X shortly after Amel. Gareth Gates was there on the Sunday. We have seen Gareth Gates once before at Butlins, but we were actually too tired to go and do anything, and we made the decision to beat the traffic, and so we came home on the Sunday anyway. You also had a number of DJs, you had comedy acts, and you had some tribute acts as well. So not only did the weekend feel like it, should have done in terms of atmosphere, it was basically a weekend of cheesy pop, and it delivered 100%. Now it's time for that all-important price. So again, taking into consideration that we did book this with 2 weeks to go, for us to spend the weekend at one of our favourite places, it cost us a grand total of just over £138. I can't think off the top of my head exactly what that number was. Or call it 140, whatever you want to, sort of do. It cost us around about that much to go. And just to put that into perspective, the next rooms up, which were the Comfort Plus rooms, which I mentioned earlier on, they were coming up at £270 for the same weekend. And last time, if I remember right, to stay in the Bayside apartments, I think we paid about 400 and something. We've paid more than that before to go to Butlins. So 138 quid. Yeah, okay, fair enough. The room might have been cold. The venues might have been warm. And this might be the reason why I'm sitting here today feeling like I'm absolutely dying. But 138 quid is worth it because we made memories and we had a good laugh. And sometimes you just can't put a price on that kind of thing. You can't put a price on making a memory. And I know that sounds so cheesy to say, but it is the cheapest Butlins Adults Weekender that we've ever been on. Well, the cheapest Butlins Weekender that we've ever been on. And price is one thing, but when it delivers, it's just the icing on a very nice cake, isn't it? So that's just about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Butlins, you've definitely redeemed yourself. We will be back at some stage. I don't know when. But I'm glad that you managed to redeem yourself. And I'm glad if you're still watching this right now. I'm glad that you're still watching. Thank you ever so much for watching if you've gotten this far. If you like what you see and you might want to see a little bit more, then please do feel free to subscribe and all of that wonderful YouTube stuff. And I'll see you very soon.